Hello, I'm Demetra.
My name's Clarity.
My name is Cody.
My name is Lisa.
My name is Marla.
My name is Anna.
My name is Terry, and I'm a student of Roger Burnley.
I'm a student of Roger Burnley.
I lived almost in my body. I was afraid of a lot of things that I didn't even realize I was afraid of.
I did have some really challenging situations in my life, and it messed me up pretty bad, actually. It took me a long, long time to recover from the early part of my life.
I was just starting college, and I didn't know what the future held for me.
I'm a mum with 4 kids. We have a business, probably going through some marital issues and all sorts of things.
Before I even knew about him or anything, it's like he read me like a book. He just was so intuitive and honed in on my fears and my issues very nicely and very gently, but just kind of like pushed the button and said, here, this is what we're going to do now.
That message came at a really important time for me because I was making big decisions in my life about changing jobs and changing careers and moving to another part of the country. And I don't think that I would have been able to move forward with all of those things because I would have been too scared before.
I think the ways that he has helped me is just kind of, he's kind of given less voice to kind of my own like self-doubt and more voice to kind of my own intuition and like things that I like think or kind of want to do or think I could probably do. He'll be like, oh yeah, of course you're gonna do that. Like it's like the most obvious, clear thing ever. So I think he's just like very validating.
I feel so much more empowered than I did ever before in my life. It's given me more vision, more clarity, and it's allowed me to visualize what I want in my life.
Whoa. It was kind of like, I was like, what are you, a wizard?
Now everything seems to be falling into place. My seeking of spiritual meaning beyond the religion of my family of origin did not allow the things that I do today.
He's 70, 71? It also shows no matter how old you are or how young, you've still got amazing things you can do. Because, I'm 51 now and, what am I going to get done in the next 20 years? And look at him, and he's just so inspirational.
Thank you, Roger, for opening up new vistas for me.
I would just thank you for you've gotten me through so much with when I was in the hospital and everything, and he's allowed me to just keep going on in my life and giving me what it is I need each and every day to improve.
Don't stop what you're doing. You're so inspirational. You're one of my role models. You've changed my life, and I can see you changing the life. Like I introduced my twin sister to you, and I can see you changing her life, changing her attitude too. You save people's lives.
It means everything to me. It's actually healed me up inside and made it so that I can feel like I'm myself. I feel like I'm myself now.
Thank you. The ability to trust myself, trust my voice, trust that I have a gift. I'm so grateful that I found him and helped me grow and evolve into the person I am today. Thank you.
Okay. That always gets me. I haven't seen it in a long time. It always gets me. Thank you. I'm so glad you all are here. And I want to first do this. Is everybody in the room? Can we bring them in? I would like to have.
Oh, yeah. We can absolutely do that.
I would like to have them in the room because this is going to be something that I really want everyone to have. And yes, and poor Stan, I threw this together so quickly and he had to work all night to get it to happen. And because we weren't ready, we weren't going to do this till later, but I knew that I needed to do it early. And that's what you're going to understand because I get directed to do certain things. I don't always understand it, but I always know it's the right time. And so that's where we're going to we're going to talk about a little bit today. But yeah, so you guys come in. I want to ask you, so I don't know who we have here, but we shall see.
All right, so I sent out the invitations to invite those of you here as a panelist. So that means you can come on and interact with us directly. And don't be shy. You know, we don't bite or anything like that. But it's supposed to be like an interactive workshop. So we want to hear from you and do some work.
Now, I do understand a lot of people told me that they were going to watch the replay. we had like 50 people or something like that who signed up. They said, you know, because I did this at the last minute. And the reason I did it, again, because I knew that we needed to have this right now. So, but what I want you to think about first, I just want you to tell me how you're feeling. I just want you to give me just a sentence, a line. What are you feeling about your life and the world? What are you thinking is going on? If you could just put that in the chat, anybody just talk about it and just give me what is going on for you. Anything at all. Just if it's just a feeling, if it's just an emotion, it's just whatever it is that you're feeling right now, that's what I want to know. Because we're having a full moon too, so there's a lot of energy going on. There's going to be a lot of things coming up, and you may be feeling something. But whatever it is that you're feeling, if you just kind of put something in the chat, let me know. Could be perfect. Okay. Oh, chat is disabled. Huh.
Investigating.
Okay, so sorry. Thanks, Seth. You put the question and answer.
How are we all doing today?
Promising future. Okay, perfect. Oh, that's what I want. That's what I want to do. Okay, good. I'm glad we're on that page because not many are, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Maybe. Oh, it's open. Chat's working now.
Chat should be working now.
Okay, perfect. Great. All right. Promising future. All righty. Okay, so then. Now, I want you to think about that. Now, also, just look at what we have on the board here. Just what you're on this screen. I just want you to think about those things. You can write them down. I could have told you to have something to write with, but just do your best right now because people are going to watch this later, and I want them to do it also. And then I'm going to take you on a little journey where we can talk about this, and it'll be explained a little bit more. Great. Releasing the mindset mentality of lack and replacing with mindset mentality abundance. You're right on track. That's exactly what we're meant to be doing now. And I'll talk about that. So we're all on the same page, which is great. And just think about what you want to see in your life and what could that be? Do you think that you can still do it? Have things changed for you because of what's happened in the world? Whatever that might be. Think about it and just think about it, because at the end, I want to take an assessment and see how you feel about all of those things as we go through this journey, because that's what this is going to be. I'm going to give you a my take on what I feel is happening in the world, and then I'm going to take you on a journey to show you why I believe that and why I've come to that realization. And I hope that you come to this realization as well, because I know that everyone here now, alive now, is here for a really great reason. And you could absolutely have everything that you wanted in your life, and this is the time to do it. And that's why I called this workshop with that title, because I know that that is available for every single person. And there are no exceptions to that, except when we make ourselves an exception. Now, I would say that all of these things, that these are some of the things that you're wanting. You may have some others, but this is typically what most of us are looking for. We're all wanting to experience success, whatever that means to us, or happiness, peace of mind, trauma release. When I talk about trauma release, we have to accept we all have it. We are born that way. We come into the world, we don't have, we have a history that we bring in, and it's about some sort of hurt or pain or whatever it might have been. We don't have a memory of that, but we're moving through it. Every single person, it's different for each person, but we're all doing it. Now, you already have all of these things in front of you. And this is what I'm going to give you today, because I didn't know that. On a certain level, I knew that, but I couldn't do it. The reason I said in this workshop, I called it, you could have everything that you've ever wanted in your life, because not everyone will do that. I almost didn't, you see, because we don't understand who we are. We haven't accepted our importance, our genius, or whatever it is that's within us. We have not accepted that. It's a lifelong journey, because that never ends. It doesn't even matter how old you are, how long you've been working, it never matters. You're always, as long as you're walking, there's something more that you could offer to yourself and to the world. And that's the part that I want you to understand, which is why I had to step out in front and say, okay, I've got to be completely authentic here. I've got to be completely honest and tell these folks, how did I understand this? Why did I pull this together? Who the heck am I? Because that's what you're going to do. And that's the part that we're moving through now that you will understand. Everything about our lives is meant to cause us to become better. Everything, including what's going on in the world. And that's the part that a lot of us have not understood. I didn't understand that. And I'm going to take you through a journey of my life so you understand why I'm talking about this and what I've come to understand now. Because we are sitting in a place of evolutionary change. That is what's happening. You've seen it. You've seen all the things that are going on in the world. We question, why are we having pandemics? Why is the weather so crazy? Why is everyone fighting? Why are we having a war in 2022? That doesn't make any sense. We thought we were done with that kind of a thing, you know, with certain countries, but no, we're not. Because we're moving through a change. And the change, if you understand it in your life, it will make your life so much better. And then if you do that, it'll make the world so much better. That might not be a concept that you've gotten, and you will though when we go through this. All right, let me just start going through, because I know that we're on a time thing and I could probably give you so much that would take a long time, but I want you to have the understanding of your importance in the world now, and the way that you're going to have everything that you want is by deciding that you're going to own every aspect of who you are. That's all that it is, ever. Okay, let's go there. Now, Stan put all these things together for me, and I haven't seen them. It's so brilliant. I told you I threw this together, and it's you know, I'm being completely transparent, but I said we got to do this today. And so these are the things I want you to think about too. If you feel that there's something that you want to do in your life, but you feel stuck, okay, right? You know what I'm talking about, it, because I've been stuck more than you have. Trust me. You may think, oh, I've been holding myself back forever. No, you haven't. You're just right at the right place where you're supposed to do it now. That's all. Everything about your life is timed perfectly. You feel a lack of direction or purpose. That means you just haven't discovered who you are. Then, if you're struggling with attracting things like money or health, same thing. Absolutely the same thing. It's because you are not being yourself. That's all. And the reason you're not being yourself is because of a lot of other things that we're going to go through. Now, you want to be happy and cannot stay that and say that you are now. And yeah, you will. You will soon, okay? You will feel generally unsuccessful in one or more area of your life. All these things are just general things that I put up there because I know everyone would relate to some of them, or maybe all of them. All of them for me. I'll tell you that. That's why I'm going to explain it. If you already know exactly what you were put on the earth to do and are living your life to meet that purpose in every single moment. No, I didn't do that forever. You are fully abundant in money, success, love, and don't feel as if it can get any better. No, I'm never at that place. No, you literally have all the stuff and things in your life and are completely content. with where you are? Nope, not done for me. And you know exactly what to do and where to go to continue your success and achieve all of the goals you set forth for yourself. Yeah, I know that, but I'm not always doing it. That's the part that we're going to get to, because it's a process that we all move through. There's no one who's exempt from this. Yeah, because the only reason you wouldn't have everything is that you refuse to do so. That may sound so harsh, but I can say it because I did it. And I know this for a fact because I've experienced. And then once you shift through this, your life is different. Your life is different, and then our world eventually becomes different as well. So, yeah. But because I went through all this stuff that I'm going to show you, it allowed me to put together something that can help everyone move into who they're meant to be and not have to go through all the crap I did. You just don't have to do that. But it's a process, and you have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to take the steps. That's all that it ever is. Okay. Oh, Amrita. Oh, thank you. I forgot about this. You can read all of that, but I'm just going to talk about this a little bit because she just sent me a message today. This is a person that I started working with years ago as a vocal client. And, you know, as many of you know, I'm a vocal coach. That's where most people knew me at first. But going through 30 more years of coaching people in vocals, I knew that I had to do more because I started reading your personalities, as you can see from that video, but it developed something else within me, which is why we're here. But Amrita, she listened. I didn't know this. I gave her something. She asked me a question. I said, yeah, go do this. And it was just an intuitive thing. I said, you could do this. And then she went out and made a big business for herself. I didn't even know. We're talking to her months later, and then she's showing me she has all these students. Now she's interviewing me to be on her podcast, and she's also a coach as well. And this is a lady, she's Indian, and she was just so stuck into her role in this world because there's traditional thing that she had to go through. And so it was hard for her to accept that she could do this thing that she brought to me. And I said, no. You can do this if it's connected to you. If you feel this, if it feels innate to you, something you're supposed to do, you're supposed to do it. We would not have the vision or the thought unless we were meant to do that thing that we're looking at. We don't always embrace it. We don't always own it. I didn't, and you'll see why. And so, finding the solution you sought to create the life you wanted to live will shock you at first, and you might become angry. But when you accept the answer, you will have everything. And that is talking about me. And you will understand this, but it's you as well. We always hold back something. We always are resisting something about ourselves, and we're not telling people because we haven't worked through understanding why we have whatever it is that we're judging about ourselves or about our lives. And that's really what is going on. And it's going on a collective basis. It's going on worldwide, globally. That's why this. Let me just say this. We live at certain periods in our world's history. You can all know that. We can look back at different times in history and see things were different. We weren't going through certain things. However, you happen to be privy, you happen to be the fortunate beings, the fortunate people who decided to live now, to go through all of this. You may think that it looks horrible and it's chaotic and all of that, but I'm telling you that it's the best time for you if you decide to own who you are. Okay. The angry part was me. And I went through this, I processed through this. I said, why did I know that I had this information? Why was I holding it back? Why didn't I do more? And then when I saw things happening in the world, I said, wow, I should have done it beforehand. And that's with you as well. It's every single person. I am no better than anyone else, and no one is better than you. That's the part that we have to come to understand. Otherwise, we don't change our lives and we don't fix our world. We're not going to fix the world, but we'll make it better. That's what will happen. Okay. All right. So.
All right, so pulling back the Iron Curtain here just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have all of the pictures of the slides.
Mm-hmm.
I have all of them. Mm-hmm. So just to put in the context for everybody watching, I'm just going to go through them, and you can mention we might just go past a few of them But yeah, you can just tell me to stop. If there's one that you want to particularly just touch on, and go from there. So just wanted to put that into the space.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we wanted you to understand, we're being completely transparent. I do this a lot. Somebody, people know me. I will get an intuitive hit of something that's supposed to happen and what I'm supposed to do, and I just have to act on it because I spent a lot of my time in my life not acting on things. And so you will understand that. Okay, we can go through it. Now I'm going to take you through things that you may not understand. Now that's me in the middle holding that baby. That's my brother. And for some reason, when I was younger, I had this nurturing aspect. Now I had other brothers and one brother that's older and all that, but for some reason, I was the person who was given this child to take care of. And it started making me aware of this nurturing spirit that I had. We all come into the world to do something and it's going to be different. And we start to get glimpses of that when we're much younger. But if we don't understand that and start operating on it, it becomes very difficult to live a life that really causes us to feel that we're successful. Okay, so that's my lovely family though. And then at 19, this is what my first job. I've done so many jobs in my life. I've had so many careers. So when people tell me they haven't found where they're supposed to be, I go, okay, that's all right. You just haven't discovered who you are. That's all. I had to take this long journey doing it. I left school. I walked out of college one day, and these people, this was International Harvester, they thought I was brilliant. I was 19 years old in that photo. And so I worked at that place for 4 years because the money was good. They paid me a lot of money and they thought I was a genius. They thought I was just, and I hated the work. But I stayed there forever. Then I said, okay, let's go. Then I left. Then somebody gave me a reprieve, basically offered me something else. And I went into another position that I had no clue as to what it was or what I was going to do. But I ended up taking this one company and making it really successful. And I had no skills in doing that. Didn't know how I was doing it. All right, we can go. Then this is high school. I'm going to tell you this. We develop trauma from our events sometimes. And if we don't understand what happened, if we don't change it, we carry it around. I carry it around. Jerome Ramsdale was a choir director. He came to see us when I was in grade school before I went to high school. And so I thought that he told me that my voice was terrible. I think I was about 12 years old. And during that time in my life, there were many other things going on. I had been in the Boy Scouts. I fell through the ice in the river and I couldn't swim. I almost drowned. I had many times where I almost died. So I'll just get that out of the way. But he told me that maybe I think something's wrong. Then later, when I got to high school, which is the next one, you can go to the next one. He started telling me something different. No, you have all this talent. No, you have all this. I never believed him. Because I had set in my head something that I heard as a child thinking, oh, I can't do this. He said, no, he kept pushing me. He put me in the all city chorus. He put me here. This was for the yearbook. I go, why am I in this picture? I'm not that good. Everybody else told me I was that good, except me. I couldn't get there. And then on the right there, that's Seth Riggs. He was the most famous. This is many, many years later. He's the most famous vocal coach, probably in most places, but at that time, this was about 1986, I think it was when I first went to him. And but I thought, no, I can't go there because see, I'm not good enough. I called him up and he got on the phone. He thought I was calling for an appointment. I wasn't calling for an appointment. I was doing some work. I was working for somebody else. I was trying to get information. But then when he said, I knew who he was, he said, oh yeah, let's set something up. And I go, no. And I didn't have any money. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had to go. I think I got money off a credit card or something like that because he was expensive at that time. But I said, okay, I'll go. And then he says to me, okay, you're singing with 60% of your voice. I go, what? I thought I had accessed everything. He goes, no. And so then I started finding out, oh, there's more to me. And let me do that. Then he started pushing me. And then by 1988, he said, you have to start coaching. I go, no, I can't do that. I'm too terrible. I don't have any skill. He goes, you're going to know more than what anyone who comes to you. I don't know how he knew about the law of attraction or whatever, but he was absolutely correct. And that's what went on. So I said, okay, I got to start. But I was terrified because I had to leave my job. I had no income, didn't know what I was going to do. And so, but I said, this must be something I'm supposed to make happen. So then during that time, I started doing something. I'm going to throw this in here because I want you to understand where this began. I read an article about automatic writing, which was something strange and weird I didn't understand, but I had been meditating for a while. That's my spiritual studies. I meditated. And so when I read this article about automatic writing, I thought, oh, okay, let me try that. Because it was written by a business guy who was making this transition. And I had to make it, really real. If it's a business guy, it must mean something. It must be really great. And that's not weird. And so I'll start trying it. And I would sit down and I started doing it. And then a few days later, I decided to try it. And then a few days later, I started receiving information. I started writing, and it was frightening because some stuff was coming through me that I didn't quite understand then. I didn't understand why I was getting it, and I wasn't going to tell anybody. I wasn't going to talk about it. And so I just kept doing it because it was information that was just coming to me. And no one needed to know because it was helping me, and my business started to change. And I started to get clients, and all these things started to come about. You can go to the next. So I just kept doing it and just keep hiding it out from everyone. I did that for years. And then I went through so many life-changing events that you can't understand. This was that photo up in the upper left. That was my home that I lost. I lost absolutely everything. This was about 1994. I had become really successful in what I was doing with my coaching, and I'm still doing my writing. I'm still doing all of that, but I lost a sense of myself. I got involved in a relationship, and I gave myself away. I lost my business. I lost everything, and then I got sick on top of it. And then as I got sick, I couldn't work, and then there was a thing that happened with my foot. And then I had to, I went in the hospital. I was in the hospital for probably over a month. And I had to amputate part of my foot, my left foot. And now I have to learn how to walk again. I had to go through all of these things. And then I became addicted to drugs. I became addicted to opioids. And then I became clinically depressed. And at the same time, all that was happening, we were going through really horrible things in the world in terms of a lot of the things that we're feeling now. But I decided I had to change this. I had to figure out a way to heal all of this, and I did it. Even with the depression, I didn't even know I was clinically depressed. So a doctor told me, so I had to go on medication. But I figured out neuroscience. Didn't know how I was doing that, but I got it somehow. And then I said, I'm going to get myself off of these. And I did a dumb thing with the drugs, though. I knew that I was better. I knew that my brain had told that I wasn't having the pain. I wasn't going through all this. I knew I was better. I didn't need them anymore. But I was psychologically addicted to them because I thought that was the only way I could function, because the only way I could have worked at the time was to be on drugs all the time. I had to be hopped up on them. Otherwise, I couldn't get anything done. But then at a certain point, that ended. And I said, okay, I got to leave that. But then I did it all. I'm impulsive sometimes. And I just stopped one day and I ended up in the emergency room because it's like you're coming off of heroin and it's a horrible feeling and you never want to do that. So it is better to do it, in a way that it's measured. So you can go to the next one. But the racial division, let me talk about this because I want you to understand, because this is a part of what's going on now in the world. You are seeing, and you're going to see more of it. You're going to see more racial division. I've lived through quite a lot of it. And when I was younger, my first childhood memory was of a neighborhood that I lived in where I was the outsider. Well, not completely, but to a degree, because there were many white people. There weren't a lot. And then it started changing. And then I moved to another neighborhood when I was 12, and then there was all white people. And so I'm out of my realm. And when you feel that you just don't belong, that you just are in the wrong place and you're dealing with a different culture. However, I had this ability to turn that around, and I assimilated and made that work because I started to understand what was going on. That's what's going on now. We all come into the world with generational beliefs, and we have ancestral beliefs based on our races, based on our families, our religions, our countries, wherever we came from. But whatever you have, that was what you were given to work with to make your life great, once you understand it. Okay, let's go to the next. And so as I'm going to talk about something else, to one other thing that happened, and yeah, next time we will have all this in there, but the Eckhart Tolle thing in 2005, that's where things change. That's okay. In 2005, that's where things change. I read The Power of Now. Now, let me tell you, I had spent years suffering with cluster headaches. And if you've not known of them or heard of them, let me just tell you, it's the most painful thing that you could ever go through. They're called the suicide headaches because you want to kill yourself. They started for me in 1990. No, I'm sorry. The first attack was actually in New York, and so that would have been 1979. So let's tell you, my history goes back. Yeah, I'll be 72 in a few months, so that's how old I am. So I've done a lot of crap. Anyway, and so as I got these attacks, I couldn't understand what was going on because they would come and you have pain. I'm sitting in a room many times, like not knowing what I was doing, because I could not see light, I couldn't do anything. And I know now what it was resistance, but I carried it on for a long time. See, because I was going to hide everything else that was coming through about who I was. I'm not going to talk about all of that. Anyway, so when I read Eckhart Tolle's book, I thought, this is good. And then he said, there's no pain when you are in the present moment. I need you to get that. Think about this. When you are completely in the present moment, you don't have pain. You're not afraid. You don't have nothing. Because you're not thinking about the past. You're not thinking about what happened. You're not frightened of what might come. So it became a really great training mechanism for me, because what I had to do when I would feel that attack, because you can feel it beforehand, when you feel an attack coming on, I said, okay, you want to run. You want to bang your head against the wall. You want to put yourself under a cover. You want to do anything. You definitely don't want to talk to people. And so I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to run. Eckhart told me that there's no pain in the moment. And so I would practice. I would sit there. I was like, I'm going to stay right here. I'm not going to think about, I'm not going to worry about what's coming. I'm not going to think about I'm not doing that. I'm going to stay right here. And it was challenging because at first I would do it and then, oh no, there it is. And it didn't work that right. Didn't work. I'd come back and say, okay, that's okay. Next time I would let it pass. And then next time I'll come back. See, you never know how long the headaches are going to last. I want to tell you that. Sometimes it could be, a few minutes or whatever, an hour, 2 hours. Sometimes it could be a full day. And that's how long you're in pain. That's why you want to kill yourself. And so, but I said, I'm going to get through this. So then what I discovered, there's a way to change your brain. There's a manner you can change your brain and become better just by, yes, that's what I did. And then later I learned about cognitive behavior training. I learned about all that later. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that I discovered something that worked. I discovered something that worked and I started putting it together. And many of you I think we'll go to the other thing later, but okay, what do you have next? Okay, so I'm going to talk about this in a little different way because I wrote this years before I didn't know what it was, but it just came to me. I'm saying this because I need you to understand that we all have different things that we have. We all have intuition, first of all. We don't always trust it. We don't always go with it, but we all have it. Now, because of the way my life was and what I had to do, I was given a gift of receiving this information and being able to put it together in a way that would help other folks. When I started coaching, I want you to understand, I get this out of the way too, because I need to be completely transparent with all of it. When I started vocal coaching, the reason I didn't want to do it is because I didn't know music. I want you to understand that. I didn't know how to play the piano. And so my coach said, no, you got to learn. I hid from him. I told him, okay, I'll do that. I didn't do that. I cheated. I got somebody else to play and make some things for me, and that's how I did it. And so I took that and I became this world famous vocal coach, worldwide. People, you can see it, you'll find it online. And I said, how's that happening? But I don't know music. It was intuitive. I could look at someone, figure out what was going on, and I needed to, and I developed that over years. It's been so many long years that I did. So, but what I discovered was there's always a way to change anything if we're willing to do it. And I call this the 4 pillars of empowerment. We cannot create our lives or manifest our lives in the way that we want and experience them if we're not willing to become empowered. Meaning that we know that we have value and worth and we're supposed to be here no matter what we've gone through, no matter what we've experienced, it is worth something in the world. And that is true for every single person. And I don't care what you've been through, because that's why I'm talking about all of these things, because it took me forever to find the value once I started letting go of my resistance, because that's the thing that always holds us back. So the way that I thought about this and where it came to me, and then I started saying, this is a great process, and I've included it in all my work. You acknowledge what's going on, because a lot of times we're not looking. We think I did this, so I say it. If I put my head in the sand, then I don't have to change anything. I can let my life fall apart and not have to do anything. And that never works. I said, there's something I got to do about that. So then when I would start to discover what it was, okay, I can see I have this problem here. I have this difficulty here. Now, what am I going to do about it? And so I have to become honest with that. And then I start crafting the next thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to start looking, I'm going to ask myself why. Why didn't I do that thing? Why did I believe that I couldn't do something? It is always in your mind. It is always something that you are thinking. Every person is born brilliant. We are. We're born with everything that we need, but we don't always come to understand that until we move through our lives and start living things. So the purpose is about finding out, knowing that you have one. That's the thing that most people get stuck at, because you don't think that you have this purpose because you have these horrible things that happened to you, or you did these horrible things, or you just had a bad luck because you grew up in a bad neighborhood, or you didn't get everything from your family, or you grew up in the wrong. None of that is true. None of it matters, because if you had that life, that means it was purposeful. You just have to figure out why. Because you're supposed to give something back to the world, give something back to society by deciding to make yourself wonderful. I know, doesn't make sense, but that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to make yourself have this magnificent life so you can help the world. And knowing yourself, I want you to think about this again. I haven't seen this in years, but knowing yourself is just coming to that place where you're willing to look at all those insecurities. I had every single one of them. I talked about this before. We might show this, but in 2018, I wrote a book called Unfear, Overcoming Fear. It took me forever to do it because I was too afraid. Because see, I had to reveal something in the book. It was my way of doing. I had to reveal a lot in the book, but it was my way of coming to ownership of who I was. Because I couldn't write a book about fear without saying how I got over it. I couldn't talk about it. So I had to tell people, oh, the way I got over my fear is that I sat down and I meditated and I received all this information and it helped me. And that just sounds crazy, but it's exactly what happened. There was no other way that I would have moved through this. There's the book, thank you. There was one, we don't need this now, but when I was 12 years old, I told you there's so much trauma that was going on at that time. Not from my family. My family was great. I was the one who had the trauma. And you have to understand that. Sometimes you will be the black sheep of the family. You will be the only one going through your crap. And that means that you wanted to do that because if you understood it, you would make your life better and the world as well. And that's how I felt. There were people who didn't understand what I was doing in my family, and they looked at me, and I literally felt like the black sheep of the family, but that was purposeful as well. So when the only reason I wrote the book, I want to tell you this too. So you don't beat yourself up if you just like not doing the stuff that you know is in front of you. The only reason I got help. That's all. I got help. And the help that I had was my friend. She offered to edit the book, but I had to send her something for her to be able to edit. And every day I wasn't writing. And she would say, just put it on your calendar, just do it. It took months, but I finally got it done only because she was making me become accountable. So if you haven't been doing things in your life, it's probably because you have not had someone else making you accountable. We all move through this doubt of who we are and why we're here and our importance. And you can change it, because that's what I had to do. All right, so then I didn't tell anybody about any of this stuff, but I had written all of this after I had started receiving, of course, my Wilhelm, my information that way, so I could decipher the information that I was receiving and put it together. That could help a lot of people. I created many programs that way. I've created so many programs just from what I had received in that manner, but I was still not comfortable telling you. And the only way that it got out to other people was in 2005 at one of my, around that time. Yeah, it was 2005. Everything happened that year as well. Someone found one of my messages that I had on my desk at the office I had at that time and asked me, who wrote this? I said, I did, because I'm hiding out and being afraid. And I said, this really helps me. Can you give it to me? And I said, oh, okay. I'm like, again, I'm hiding out. I'm saying, this is something that could really help people. Why am I not telling you? Because I was afraid. I had this shame that was going on. How could I be sitting here doing this weird thing? Plus, there are religious things that come up with this as well. I want you to understand that. And that came up with me because we're afraid that if we're receiving information, it's blasphemy. We're going to be doing something strange. And I grew up in a very different era. It wasn't like what it is now, where people were just talking about spirituality. And I've never stayed in those groups or done any of that stuff where I was in those places. I just never did that. I just kept it to myself because it was safer that way. Setting sights means that you've got to start to see a vision bigger than where you are. We have to. We cannot manifest anything in our lives if we cannot envision it. And that is science. It's not something we've just made up or that people just say. It is actual science because your brain has electromagnetic chemicals and energy that are actively creating something. We're just not aware of how we're doing it. But then it's beyond that too. Then you got to do something. And see, that was a part that I had trouble with. You know, you can get all the ideas and know what's going on, but then you sit there and you procrastinate. And you will procrastinate for several different reasons that I did, all of them. Oh, it's not quite good enough. Maybe it could be better. People are going to think I'm weird. People are going to judge me. People, whatever it is. I've lost many friends. I've got to tell you, over the years, I've lost friends when I started like really revealing that. And you have to be willing to let go of people sometimes, because when you grow into who you're meant to be, some of those other people that you had been with may not fit anymore. That really is what happens. Okay, so then as all of this starts going on, I want to bring you closer to where we are now. So I want you to understand what's happened. Okay, what did you have next? Oh, good, thanks. Okay, now we're coming closer. Let me give you a lead up to this. You all know that we started, we had the pandemic. That's probably the first time that we started noticing something was different, right? We started noticing something's changing because we're having this pandemic that none of us alive had experienced something quite like this. The enormity of this one. We've had other cases, things that have happened over the years, but nothing that kind of took over the world as did the COVID. So when that started happening, I started receiving different information, and it just kind of frightened me again. As everything I've received, I don't know in advance what it all means. I don't know that until I go back, look at it, study it, and it's the same for you. We've all been implanted with something, but we have to be willing to uncover it. But anyway, when we started receiving that information, I'm writing about the United States would lead the way. We're going through restructuring, didn't know what that meant, but now we're all seeing it. Everything that is going on right now in the world, I want you to understand, and you can go back, if you read my messages that are on my site, Any Advice for Today, or if you go back to listening to the recordings where I did live conversations for the last more than a year, you would hear the words come out of my mouth of everything that's going on now. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that we were going to have a war, but I wrote it. All of that stuff came up. So then in 2021, I'm writing all this information, putting it together. In 21, I was told that I was given information. It's a philosophy, basically, that would help anyone change their lives and move through this transition, because we knew this transition was coming. We've had these in our world before. We have not lived through them, meaning we've had evolutionary changes where our civilization changes. And when we exist in times like that, we are helping to create whatever is going on. All of us are that important. And the way that we create the new world that we want to see is by deciding that we're going to become who we're meant to be. That's what's happening. And so then when we feel under this pressure, everything's going crazy, then we have to work on us. We have to come back to loving why we are here. Every person is born to be autonomous and have sovereignty and have every power that every other person has, and you already have it. That's the problem. but but you also have your individual evolutionary journey. It's not like anyone else's. It looks different because you came from different places, you have different blood mixtures, different DNA, all of that, but every single person is beneficial and important if you understand what your purpose is. And if you're a religious person, you'll think, oh, God-given. Yes, that's what it was. Or your divine plan, if you're a spiritual person, whatever it is. Every single person has one. And when I can see mine and chart it out, it starts to make sense. But the reason I can do that is because I did my work. Now, Joseph came into the program. He was the last person to enroll in my program that I had. And he has this, and I thought, why is this guy coming here? He's got all these degrees and he's a brilliant person. And it's not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are. If you have not fulfilled what was given to you to bring to the world, you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're not going to have the money. You're not going to have the happiness, the love. You're not going to feel good about yourself, and you're going to be frightened. And I'm telling you, that's what he did. He came into the program, he did so much, and I could see that he was just sorting through so much of his life. And he got to the end where he was like, okay, now I've got to make a decision on something else now, which was a relationship. That's what we always come to, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, was there someone else? It was Gustav, yeah. This is another one, Gustav, he's from South Africa. And he was, he was just, oh, okay, yeah, but thanks. He just, he started with me years ago as well as a vocal client. But what I saw was this person who had this vision and could see things in other folks, and he was doing things. He would travel to Brazil to live there, to teach, to learn English, be a teacher and all that. I said, there's something else here. He still wanted to be a singer, but he wasn't very good then. But now he's just like transformed and done so much. And then he took the program, and I thought, he's not going to want to do this. He's been the biggest cheerleader. And he's actually started a fund that he wanted to do, because he said, wait a minute, this has to come to more people. This has to be to more, because it radically changed his life. And I can say that because it radically changed mine as well. And that's why I can state it. And the only reason we don't change is because we're just not willing to do the work. I wasn't willing. And if that sounds strange to you, you have to understand, when I receive the work, I have to go back and look at it. Let me go to the, okay, was there something else there? Let me tell you the real deal here, the story of this, of how I put together the program, because we're going to talk about that in a bit, because you're at a place where there's something in your life that you're meant to do. It's been with you your entire life, and it's in front of you now because of this evolutionary change that we're moving through. And so you're going to either decide that you're going to embrace that and start working on it and continue working on it, develop it, or you're going to be in a lot of fear. Because that's where we're moving. And so in 2021, as I said, I'm walking down the street. I'm going to tell you the story because it sounded crazy to me. And I want you to understand that some of the things that you thought about, that you judged yourself, you thought this is really insane, it was not. You just have to figure out what it is. We all have something. So I'm walking down the street and I hear, oh, we gave you everything you needed to know in 2012. I said, that made no sense to me. And then I said, and I kept going. I said, that couldn't have happened. I come back into my computer and I find a folder on my that I had never seen. I open it up and go, how did I miss that? See, you've missed so many things about your life too. That's what goes on. And so we don't discover it until the time is right in our lives and in the world, but the time is right. And when we're ready to start to act on it, when we're ready to start to embrace it and move into whatever that is. And sometimes it takes a while. So as I started looking at this, I got, how did I not know that I had this information in 2012? I couldn't put that together. And I was in a workshop, in a meeting or something, and I didn't know anything about this, you have to remember. And someone said, oh, 2012, that was the end of the Mayan calendar. That's when the world was supposed to end. I said, I didn't know anything about that. Don't know anything about it. And so then I started researching and I started seeing, oh, I wrote this stuff. I received this information. I had no conscious awareness of this. That's why it was so difficult for me to accept it and to believe it, because I didn't have any memory of this. But I go back and I started looking at it. I go, oh, this makes sense. So what I did was I put together, I said, let me try it. I got to try it on other people because I want to know. And I put these folks in there and they all started changing. This was in December of 2021, by the way. And so it was brilliant. I'm freaking out because I don't know how it's happening. I had to go back and look at the information and go through it again myself. And then I started to figure it out. I know, oh, you mean what's happening is that we're changing our brains and we're doing it every day and we're staying accountable and we're being deliberate and we're staying persistent. And then all of a sudden, each day we're feeling better. Oh, that's how that works. And then I started discovering that's cognitive behavior training, that's neuroscience, that's all of the stuff that we've only understood in recent years. We didn't have all of this information before. But when you start working with it and understanding it, yeah, there's no reason that we can't change anything. We just have to become willing. And so as we did this program, and we got to the end of it in January, I said, oh, crap. I didn't have it together. See, because the first part was me testing it. Nobody was going to get, people change, but they didn't change completely, because you don't change completely in 4 weeks. You get better, you start to get on the path. But then I said, I got to do a whole year. I have to do an entire year because it takes a while for us to start to accept who we are and move through our old programming, because, and that is science again. It's not something that, it's not your fault, is what I want to say. Whatever your particular reason for not moving ahead is a good thing, because now you can figure it out. There's nothing wrong with you. You just have things that you have not understood. You haven't been asked the correct questions to get you to understand it or bring it up. That's all that's going on. Okay, let's go.
Okay, so this is going to be the perfect segue into hearing from some of the people who actually went through and are still in the last variation of the program.
Okay. I wanted to say, yeah, thank you. That will, we can, do we need the screen still on, or we can bring it back? We got the other stuff. I just want to talk about this. I want you all to understand this. You each have something, everyone, and this is everything. I've not found any single person where this is not true. You have something that you're meant to do and bring to the world. You don't always trust it. You don't always believe it. And then you might give up. You might let it go, just as I did, but it's there. And if it doesn't leave you, it's what you're meant to do. And whatever that is valuable, no matter what judgment you might have placed on it. And I'll show you that in a bit as well. Okay, yeah, so we can bring in, do we have anyone here who's?
Yeah, so just sit back.
Oh, perfect.
I find this work is very powerful. They change a lot very quickly. It's like quite surprising how things are changing for me.
I want to say how grateful I am that you've done this. And the time that you've put through on this is just amazing. And as we get older and we put through something like this into the world, you don't know the benefits of it until years later.
I just want to thank you for the program. Probably a year or two ago, if there was a tough decision to make, especially about money or anything like that, I would let fear and worry guide me away from a decision that might have helped me grow.
I have moved. I have made some positive changes. Hey, good, bad, or ugly, you did it. That's the main thing.
When you say the time is now, and I always appreciate it, because now more than ever, I feel a little bit more satisfied myself, because especially lately, I keep leaving a project not finished.
I love the program. I love the questions, but I think that being aware of everything that's inside of you and bringing it out onto paper, it really does make you step forward in that area.
The way the questions penetrate into your memory and into your past experiences is so unique. Yeah, it really goes deep very, very quickly. I mean, I'm only on day 3, but the way like the questions are presented and the things you read before and the whole steps you go through, probably a lot of people's experiences, but it goes really deep, really, really quickly.
I mean, every day has its difficulties, but like, it's better than it was. You know, I mean, I'm doing more things that I enjoy, and like I find that I personally feel like I'm meant to do my book and everything, and then with the acting, I'm working on all that.
I've been taking so much courses, like especially with this pandemic, I approach different from Tony Robbins, from Bob Proctor, from Jack Canfield, and also I've been following Abraham Hicks, but never really brought me the result that I wanted to do it. So I'm very, I mean, this course is very more, I found that I think it's a bit faster.
Roger, I just wanted to say thank you again, because a few years ago I realised that voice coaching wasn't the only thing that I could do, and that I had something else. But I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it was.
Again, that was the shock for me, because that came out of in December when we did the first 4 weeks, and which should make sense. I mean, I've done everything in my life. I've had all this experience. Even if I just put something together on my own because of what I've gone through, it would help people to expand and evolve. But I need to be sure always. I have to test everything. I've done that with every single thing that I've ever created. And part of it was, okay, I'm holding back because it was still this old thing of being embarrassed, of being, they're not going to understand. I said, I can't do that anymore, because I know what's going on in the world. And this is why I planned today, because I knew that we were going to have this energetic thing happening. I didn't know exactly how much. There's going to be more. And we're going to move through a period where it's going to be so important for each person to own who you are, to feel stable and happy and prosperous and all of those things, because then you'll be adding that to the world and you'll help shift things. Now, you may not understand that completely unless you study, quantum physics or mechanics or whatever. We're still learning about all of that, how we form things in our lives and forming it in the world. But that happens. So then in 2012, I kept going through all of these messages, and it was just shocking to me. I would ask people, this is another weird thing that happens. I say, what's your birthday? I'd pick up and I go back to 2012 and read their birthday from that year. And it was like, wow, that made sense for them. Can't figure these things out. We have to become willing to let go our disbelief. We have to just let it go, because we have it. Every single person has this brilliance that they can't believe. And so of course it's not going to be created. It's a process. And this is what I was meant to bring. This is what all of this work was. It's a part of it. They gave me several messages along this line, but I understand it now. I didn't understand it then. But it's this: your personal history or your story is meaningful and valuable and shapes or influences who you become in your future, depending on how you retell your story. We can all think about how we retell our stories, and it's usually with something terrible that happened. And so we're going to keep creating more of that. So, but your history includes all events, circumstances, and situations of your life that have passed, whether it be 5 minutes ago or 20 years ago. All of it is subjective, meaning that you interpret it depending on your current level of awareness. If your current level of awareness calls you to interpret your history in what you think of as a positive light, then that will affect your future in that same light. In other words, everything that has occurred in your personal history holds that positive light for you if you decide to see it. I cannot tell you how I did not know what the heck that meant when I first received it. I know what it means now. And I was told that I was given this work to be able to use during this time in our world, during this transition, because we're all going to be a little uncomfortable with it because we don't like change. We don't like change. I didn't want change. I didn't want anybody to see anything. I didn't want to talk about any of it. And that's not helpful for anyone. I am no different than any single person. It's just that we each have something different that we're meant to do. And if we start doing it, our lives become better, and so does the world. That's all that's going on. Great. Okay, yes. I know people had to leave, but I'm so glad that you were here. I'm going to show everything else because I'm going to send all of this to everybody who registered, because I talked. I just wanted you to really get a handle on your life now. Your life now is sitting at a place where you could cause it to be magnificent if you just decided to work on your brain. That's all that it is. See, because when I went through and I started studying everything I received in 2012, it goes along with what we all know about life, that we don't live forever. We come for a certain time, and then we're supposed to do certain things. That's all. And the times that we come, it's something very specific that we're meant to do that will then affect our world. There are no insignificant people. We just may not always know that as we're living our lives. But I didn't know, again, all this information that I received back then that was going to be this amazingly brilliant, because that's what it is. Everyone can tell you this. I can sit and read these things and I go, wow, where'd that come from? Pretty good. Had no memory of it. You have the same thing. Every human does. We just have to work through our individual doubts and issues and what we're thinking about it, and then start to manifest a very different life. That's all that happens. So we'll show you a tiny bit more here. Okay, so this is what I did. When I put together, like I said, I did it last in December because I needed to see first. I got those results, so I said, I know I have something. And then I kept playing around with it. Said, oh, well, maybe I should just really change the price. I said, let me wait for a bit. Let me put it, I want everything. And so I said, but I changed the name. Now, the work, I got to tell you this, the work that I was given, the philosophy was called Your Life Operating Instructions, because we all need those. We don't know what we're doing, we're going through, we learn as we go along, but we each have instructions that will work for our lives. We're not going to be the same as anyone else. We have to come willing to own that. And so then I said, I'm going to change the name because this is your last development program. The reason that I called it that, because it's the last one for me. I've done so many of them. I started doing personal development training in 1972. So it's been a long time. So I've done all of these different things. However, you come to understand that it's all the same. And it just depends on how much you want to pay and who you want to go to and who you like. That's all. If you're going to go to a coach, we've all done it. I've gone to many coaches and mentors, and I've had so many of them. I've taken so many programs. I've seen everybody's thing about how we could make these great businesses or whatever. I watched part of Tony Robbins' summit last week. It's all the same thing. All the same thing. All they're doing is yelling at you. No, not really. All yelling at ourselves is what we're doing. We're just saying, no, you just have to accept a little bit more and get out of the way, because it is mental. You must understand that we have our neuroscience creates our life, meaning that the way that we think and use our abilities will manifest our lives in a particular way. It's the same for every single person. But we just don't accept it. And that's why I always like, Tony used to use this piece from Nick Vukovic, who is this guy who has no arms or legs. He's the most motivational speaker you'll ever meet in your life. See, because he didn't make any excuses, and parents didn't allow him to. They didn't even let him think he was any different. So another one like that, and you can watch him, you can find him online and just see one of his speeches. It'll blow you away. You'll wonder, why am I not getting on with it? What's causing me to be afraid? That's what I had to look at. And I look at it all the time because I thought, oh no, I have to get out of my way. Every single person does, because we have this underlying fear of judgment, and that we're weird or we're different or we're not going to fit, whatever it is. And it's just total crap, always. And we just have to work through it. And then we start to live a life that we're meant to experience. So that's why I called it this. And then we put together something so you guys just do. We're not opening it. We're opening it, but you are getting the special because, like I said, the more that people start to really come and get in touch with who they are now, it'll be easier moving through this period in our world. It will be easier, because I will tell you that it's not going to end tomorrow. That's why I said I got to do at least a year, because I want to stay in this. But what happens is when you go through the work, and I'll just tell you, because I did it, you notice that you are different every single day. You're not afraid of things. You're speaking to people in a new way. You're owning who you are. You're not embarrassed. The shame is gone. The shame and embarrassment, there's very few things. I've had so much shame and embarrassment my entire life. And I no longer have that. I'll talk about whatever, because I know that what I experienced had value, if not just for me, but for other people, if I'm willing to own it and move through it. We're a human collective, meaning we learn from one another, and we learn through our experiences, and we have to set an example. And that is what is going on now. You're seeing all the stuff that's happening, And if out in the outside world, but if you come back into your inside world, things are quite different, because then you're like Eckhart Tolle, nothing, you're in that moment of now, and you're creating something different, but beyond that, you're actually helping the planet. Okay, so are we going to?
Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna flow through the rest of the slides, and you can read along, just to explain what exactly is in the program that you've created and evolving.
Here. Okay, this is only about leading you to becoming your authentic self. All of it. That's all it is. And it's a process, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it at first. I can do it now brilliantly, but I couldn't do it. It was me falling to my knees, crying a lot, being really upset, but then it changes. Then you start to understand who you are and your importance of being in the world. And so when I talk about neuroscience, we've studied all of that. I didn't know that I had received things that were like that. I didn't, because I had never studied that. You have to get this too. I didn't throw this in. I didn't understand a lot of things because I didn't read. I didn't read a lot, and that was a little embarrassing to tell people, but I didn't, because I didn't even know I had ADHD until I was 70 years old. I had no idea. And that's why it was uncomfortable, but that was also a blessing. See, because if I had been reading all the stuff that everybody else is doing, if I had studied all those books and all those courses, I would have thought that I copied everything. I would have thought that I made it all up, but no, I created something. I received a philosophy, and I had to come to accept that, because I'm seeing the results of it. So I can no longer deny it. And I received it because it was meant for this time in our world, because we can all see what's happening. And the more people that become who they're meant to be, we start seeing very different behavior, because you're not angry, you're not, your hatred is gone, you're loving yourself, you're loving other people. It builds, that's what happens. And so I wanted to have, that's what I'm talking about with this. It's a process, because we judge ourselves when we think we haven't gotten to where we're supposed to be yet in our lives. No, you just haven't done the work. That's all. And I didn't do the work. I received it, but I had to go back and do it. That's the biggest difference. And I had to explain that, because I thought people would say, why didn't you know you had this? We never know what we have until we're willing to look, uncover it, and then own it. That's the ownership is what comes in. And that's the self-confidence, the self-esteem that build, that causes you to become empowered. And that's the road to self-actualization that we're all on, every single human. Yes, it's, and again, when I went through, I put so much over the years, in my other coaching, I put so many things down that I discovered over time about how long it takes us to change, and all of these are tests, these are scientific tests that were done for humans that showed us what was going on. Plus, there's still more science that is being developed now, so we're learning even more. And many of you have seen things like Dr. Joe Dispenza, and you've seen all of these other folks who are talking about this, and it comes to them as it did me, because when you go through trauma, when you go through difficult times, like I went through all of my surgeries and illnesses and diseases and all that, you start to figure things out. And so then when you do that, you start giving it back to other people, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And yeah, the steps. Oh yes, perfect. I didn't see this, but this is the acknowledgement part. And you're going to have a little, what we're doing in this Head Start, let me explain what that is. We are allowing people to come in now to get started, where we're putting all the finishing touches on, but we're going to open it completely next week. But I don't know where the price is going to be then. I'm giving you guys something different, because I talked about this so much before, because my goal is to try to help as many people as possible change. That's what I want to do. And I said, what's the best way of getting them to understand? I said, they're not listening. I didn't listen for a long time. I would run from things, I know, no, let me not look at this. And so I said, people, listen to the videos, the recordings that came through the conversations. You would understand more. People aren't listening. I didn't listen. because it's foreign to us. We have this fear of the unknown, you see? And so that's what holds us back the most time. So getting this down. And so I want you to, in this Head Start program, as we're calling it, you're going to do some work first about discovering what you think about yourself, where you are now, where you are in your life. And then we start to build from that. So you will be in a great place when everything else starts coming through. Because what happens is you receive work every day. You receive an assignment every day to do something, and it changes you because you have to read what you're saying and think about it. And I give you a little video too, which is fun. It's not very long, but it's something, my interpretation. And then you put that together and you start noticing things about yourself that you didn't see before, that you didn't recognize, that you didn't own. That's all that goes on. And so then every day you're feeling, oh, I'm more powerful. It's a gradual thing of developing where you're starting to walk in different shoes. You become this unstoppable being if you're willing to go through this work. Okay. And, oh yeah, this is the other part. We don't want to look at why we're stuck at where we are. See, because then we have to change it. If we're really saying that we want to have what we want, we have to look at why we're stuck. And the way we're stuck because of the way we're thinking. That's all that it is. But when we don't know that, we can't do anything about it. So what I give you are, when we get into the real program, you will start to understand that because you will answer the questions because all that information is within you. And that's what you start to find out. And then that's one thing to start to, get to this. We have that, now what? We have to figure out what you're going to do. And there is something to do. And I mean, I've had so many things that I had to do methodically. Like I told you with the headaches, it was a process. And I knew what it was. I had to use that strategy to then change that to get over it. Then there was another thing that I knew about all my fear. There was one photo that we had, that I was 12 years old, and I was sent to take an acting class. It wasn't that, actually. It was more of a speech thing or something. My parents did that because they could see I was afraid of everything. And so they wanted me to maybe get on stage, maybe that would help. I had fear my entire life. And so, but you can move through it once you understand it. So, fix a place to where, putting in ideas and to give you things to do. Now, you're developing the strategies, but then there's one other important part that you've got to do, which most of us don't do, and that is doing it, the implementation. When I was in 1988, I had to be pushed into going into coaching. I had to be pushed. Because I wasn't going to do it. Somebody could say something to me, but I wasn't going to do it because of that resistance and that fear. And then once you jump, it's a completely different story. And then the thing that I was afraid of, the thing that I thought I couldn't do, that I had no talent at, is the thing that made me all the money. Made no sense, but that's exactly what happened. And I couldn't figure it out at first. When I was doing one job many years ago and made it really successful, I had no idea how I was doing that, but it took me 40 years to figure that out. But guess what? It's what now has made this all make sense. Because see, when I took that job that I didn't know anything about in 1974, I think I started it. 72. That's when I started that job. And then I didn't know anything about it. So I said, what am I going to do? I have to rely on me. And then all of a sudden, out of a year later, this store that I was running was the most successful in the United States out of 500. And from something that I had no clue as to what I was doing. See, because I didn't know, I had to rely on what was within me. And once we start doing that, brilliance comes through for every single person. But we have to be willing. We have to be willing to do it. And because it took me so long, took me forever, my entire life, I don't want to ever see anybody doing that. That's why I created this. And I also know that it's going to help change things in our world. And that sounds completely insane, except when you know the science, you can understand how that would happen. Because if we have more people who are believing in themselves, becoming prosperous, in this period too, it is a wealth and income shift that's happening. And you're going to see a lot of financial things happening. We've seen so many already. And the fears of the recession and all of that, which it don't have to happen if we're doing what we're supposed to do. We never have to create a recession, because there's plenty of stuff all over the world. There's no lack of resources anywhere. We just don't have a society that we're using it equally and sharing it. And that is because each person is not owning who they are. The more people who come to do that, we change everything. And so I'm on this mission now to do this, but you've got to understand that that's why you're here also. I am no better, have more than any other human. It's just how much we are willing to accept and when we're willing to do that. And when you don't, you suffer. And I suffered for a long time because of hiding out, of being afraid. But, you know, for you, fortunately, it's what gave me the ability to create something that can get you to never do that again. You probably will, because we all do. We still stop, but it's part of the process. That's all. So I'll let you, oh yeah. The first 31 days, I'm using this, what I call a boot camp. And because that's when you're getting everything every day. You have no idea how valuable that is if you're going to sit and do it. And that's why, you know, it's so great to have a place where you can do it and make a routine and start taking care of yourself. This is the time where you're meant to love yourself. This is the time where you're supposed to start to understand your importance in the world. That's what this program is about, nothing else. And it's not about what I'm doing, anybody else is doing, it's what you're doing and what is in your life, because it is there and it's valuable. And when we don't accept that, then we don't live the lives that we're supposed to have, and we don't have all the stuff that I said you could. That's all. And so that is the first part. And then the next part, we start going into something else. The first part is just really getting you to go through figuring out why you're here, why you're blocked, what, all that stuff. But then we start going into fun stuff like your relationships. So for some people, that's not so much fun because your relationships are who you are. You don't know yourself unless you've seen it and discovered who you're through the different relationships and we mean all of them. And it's not about just your love life, your personal life, your mate, or all that. It's all of your relationships. It's your family, your parents. You know, there are things that have caused you to become a certain person because of all of those relationships. And if you're having trouble, if you're having a horrible love relationship, that means you just haven't come to understand why you're here, and you may have just gotten a person that you're not meant to be with. That's okay, because you both figure that out together. But when we go through that part, I really love the relationship part of the program, though, because you'll get several things throughout that, and it gets you to really look at things in a new way. And you sometimes might have to make some different decisions about that, but it's so rewarding. The next part, if we get through the relationships, then we got to talk about our relationship to money, because that affects everything. We live in a world that operates on that. And especially at this time in the world, it's going to become predominant, that we're going to be looking at it. And so you're supposed to have what you're meant to have, all the money that you want. And it will come if you decide becoming who you're meant to be. That's how the science works with that too. Because it's just, yeah, again, it's just energy. Let me tell you, I'll just get another little thing. I received information messages so long ago about money. People thought, Roger, do you have a problem with money? I go, no, I didn't think so. I made a lot of money. When I was younger, I screwed up so much so. I got rid of stuff. I had failures. I said, well, why am I doing that? Because it wasn't about the money. It was about me becoming myself. That was the only reason, every step along the way. That was the only thing, because it's just energy. I received a message about, I don't know, very early on, before anyone saw my, we're seeing this about 2010 or something like that. I can't remember, but it said the energy of money. And then I was given my energy. The way that I use money is that I have to know that I am offering something of value, and that I'm doing what I feel I came to the world to do. And I know the difference intuitively. And so if I don't do that, then I suffer. And so, but it took time for me to change my brain, just like it does with anyone, to then embody why you're here and what you were given, because you do have a gift, every single person. We just label it wrong sometimes, or don't appreciate it, or we're embarrassed about it like I was. That's all. but everybody has it. You just have to decide that you're going to develop yours. There's no single person who doesn't have it. I was watching, I got to throw this in, this is this cool thing. There was this kid on America's Got Talent. I love watching things like this. So he was bullied in school because he was born with a condition that caused him, he didn't grow really well. He had marks on his head because of the way he was born and all these things. And so he was just so embarrassed, and he was bullied at school. He didn't want to do anything. And so then his parents got him a saxophone. He said, okay, great, that can be me. I'm just going to play this saxophone by myself. I can learn this. I don't have to deal with anybody else. And so then he gets me when I talk about that. He comes out on stage and he's telling his story, and the entire audience is just like wrapped in, I mean, they're just like so engrossed in this story, and we're all sitting there listening, and then we're waiting for him to perform. And we're going to see, well, we hope he's good. See, because he's told us this story, and we're just like, so here, and it was terrible this happened. And then he starts to play. He blew everyone away. It was the most amazing thing ever, because he had decided to focus on who he was and what he was given, even though the outside world judged him on all of these other things and these physical things. He was led to what his gift was, and now he's performing brilliantly all over. He was just on again, I think the other night, and it's just astonishing. And then Simon looked at him and said, "You're different," because he has been a few months since he was there before. He said, "You've changed." That's what happens when you start owning who you are. The other world, the rest of the world, and everybody who put you down, it won't matter. Everyone who you thought held you back, no, they didn't do that. You did that. Every relationship you had that you thought was terrible, it wasn't. It was just getting you to learn your value when you decide to see it. That's all. I had tons of them. I had horrible relationships, lost everything many, many times until I decided, oh, that's because I couldn't own who I was. That's the only thing that happens ever. And so but it's just this time in our world, in your life, where it's more crucial for you to start to understand who you are and become who you're meant to be and prosper and live happy and free and all of that. That's what you're meant to have. Okay. Then the program, yes, okay. Then there comes the ongoing continual development. That's what I want to say. Let me put this a different way. We never stop growing. Your age has nothing to do with it. It's your brain. I feel like I'm going to be 72 in November. I feel like I'm 30, you know, and I've been through more crap than anyone would ever want to go through or should have to go through. But it doesn't feel that way anymore, because now I've understood it, why I had to move through it. Part of it was my generational thing, what I was given. And then, but once you understand it, it doesn't hurt you anymore. You don't feel embarrassed, you don't feel ashamed, you just feel good and you feel empowered and you want to help other people. And that's what I'm doing. That's it. It's the same for all of us. We just have to give ourselves enough time to change our brains. That's all that it ever is. Okay. And the support group. I'm so glad you said that. That you put this up here. In the program, it's something you're doing every day. That's what you're going through, because that's your alone time is going to be so valuable. Since 1988, when I started doing my automatic, I started a little 86, I started meditating, but I don't start my day without my routine, which is meditating and receiving information. No matter what has gone on for me the night before or whatever it was, if I do my meditation, I'm ready to then go on to my day. People would say, how are you always so up? How are you always in this mood? Don't you ever? I've been working on this for a while. I was a depressed person. You have to understand, from a kid, I was a depressed person. I couldn't do anything. I was afraid of everything. That was fun. I realized when I was like 20 something, 24, something, I said, I can't go anywhere by myself. I'm terrified. So then I went and booked a plane. I hadn't even flown anywhere. I hadn't gone. I went and I booked an airline to go to the Bahamas by myself. I had to break the trauma, you see. I had to break through the fear. So I've created a lot of different little things that help people move through some of the fear. A lot of it's in my book too. When I had to do that with fear of the water after falling, almost drowning. I had many times where I've been through many fires too. I've lost everything in my life many times. I don't have a lot of attachment to physical things because they've all been taken away. But when you get to that place where that's not so important, wow, that's a different experience as well. But anyway, okay, so the group, I want you to understand this. You're doing things every day on your own, but then the group Zoom calls are so vital because see, then you can talk about things. Then you can own yourself with a group of people who are really supportive and understanding, and you're all doing the same thing. It moves so much quicker when we have that happening. So I want a large group of people. That's why I'm doing this. And I'm determined to create my little tribe that's going to change the world by becoming these empowered people who are walking around loving themselves and loving everyone else and creating and becoming prosperous and having all the money, because all the money you want is available once you understand who you are, because you won't stop then because you're excited. That's all. No different for anyone. And oh yes, we have people who are in the program, so they're actually going into this. So they're going to be good with this. They made the best decision ever because when I first did this, when I first released it, I wasn't sure what it was going to do, but you heard from those people what it did, and I didn't discover that until the end. I didn't know. But then I understood why it happened because of the way that it was structured. And the let me tell you this too. The reason I did it this way, because I've taken so many workshops and courses and things that I'm doing it on my own, and there wasn't the follow-up that I could understand where I was, and I wouldn't go back to it. I wouldn't stay with it. If you gave me something, I have many programs I can show you. I go back to cassette tapes and show you programs that I have that I didn't finish because I wouldn't go back to them. You can't do that with me. You get something every day. You receive something. So you will either do it or know that you're avoiding yourself. You can't hide out, put your hand in the sand. No, I'm avoiding myself. No, I'm not doing it. And people do that. I'll be quite honest. There's a couple of people who came in later who just couldn't do it. They just stopped. And I said, oh, but also they didn't pay. These are people who had come in, who had something else with me before, and I'm saying, okay, now you can start doing this. But the fear of becoming yourself sometimes will stop you. That's all that it is. And there are two people in particular that I'm thinking, oh, if you would just understand who you are, you could help so many people, and you would be this millionaire, because you're just owning these crazy experiences that you've had. But you have to change your brain for that to happen. And we can all go and look at people like I was talking about Tony Robbins. He talks about his stories and what he's been through, just like I do. Every single coach does, because we know that once you do that, once you understand the process, what you gain after being willing to move through your crap, it changes your life. And you want everyone to have that. You want everyone to. I was watching so many things recently, and I'm seeing so many people terribly frightened, and especially there might be more tonight because it'll be a little uglier going on in the world, especially here in the U.S. But when you understand that it's happening because we wanted to change things, we wanted to change us, you see, and when we change us, we will create a different world, and that's why this is all happening now. Which is why I wanted to get this today, to get it to people so you can start having and working with it, and also to give you time to get ready, as we call it, this head start for when we actually open everything, because we're going to stay heavily invested in this. I'm going to be working with people closely because I want to make sure that you succeed. I guarantee everything, especially in this first 4 weeks. Beyond the 4 weeks, that's up to you because there's no criteria that we have for that. It's up to you. But you'll know. But if you move through these 4 weeks, your life has changed. And then you're gonna be more responsible. You're gonna be doing things. You're gonna be owning yourself and constantly moving into who you are. That's just what happens. And I could not have told you that before. I had to go back and look at it myself. And this is how it looks now. Yes, the discovery. Stan did all this last night. I got to tell you, which was he's just amazing, because I had to do it now because I knew that we need this. Is what I'm saying. We all need it. I needed it. It's a little bit terrible. I mean, I wanted to do this as well, because I know people look at me and go, wait a minute, why is he so happy? Why is he feeling so good about what's going on? I wasn't before. I told you I was fear. I had fear just ruled my life, but this changed my brain. And yeah, I know it doesn't make sense, but some people will understand it. I was listening to a writer, an author the other day, and she was like upset because her people didn't take her book, but then she went back and she read it herself. She goes, wow, this is really good. We all do that. Because we have the stuff within us that we haven't developed yet. So here we are. I've given you, and this is not going to stay long, I don't know, but I'm doing this now because I want to people in it to get going. And then when we open it in about a week, no, when is it, Sam?
It's the following week on the 22nd.
22nd, okay. Then I'm going to see where we are if I have more people, because first of all, this program, what you're getting, I mean, you have to think about this. How much would you pay to change your life? How much would you, I mean, just think about that, where you could come out feeling, I really like myself now. I really understand why I'm here, and I'm excited, and I'm not fearful, and I want to go out and do things. That's what happens. And that's why I knew that it would take at least a year of doing this work over and over. And so that's why I'm offering this. So you can have a single pay, you pay for the full year, and you have it, and you come to all the calls, you can do all of that. And I am working with you. Now, you have to appreciate this. We didn't go through all this stuff for showing you how much I've spent. I've spent more money on training than you can possibly imagine. I've done counseling, I've done therapists, I've got mentors, coaches, I've done everything for years, and programs. So I'm not going to put all that in here, but I want you to understand what you're getting here. And some people will appreciate this and get it now before I don't know when I'm going to change it exactly, because it all depends on the people, how many people I have, because I need to work with you. I want to make sure that you succeed. I want to make sure that you have everything that you want and you're becoming those successful people. So we'll leave. We'll keep you posted though, because we probably have we do have everyone's registration, so we'll keep you posted, but you want to get this now. I talked about it before, and I kept saying, I'm going to have to change it because I don't understand. But I also have to shift what I'm doing. And this is going to allow me to leave something so wonderful in the world, because I don't think I'm going to live forever. And so, but for as long as I'm here, I'm going to be doing this and giving this back, because I know it's going to make a huge difference. So please get it now. And then, because I can't guarantee when it's going to change, because it should be at least $5,000. I'm just going to say that. There's no way that it should be any less than that. My year of working with the person is 25,000, so it should be at least that. But it's more important. I've done this my entire life. This is my history. You guys will all see this. I know people yell at me because I've given away way too much. And I've done that because I do really care, but there's another part where I have to decide, wait a minute, I got to care about me too. But for right now, as we're working, getting everything ready for the next one, you have this opportunity, and that's why I wanted to get done now.
The thing that we're doing super special for right now is those of you who prefer to do a monthly subscription, because originally we were going to do the first month being $4.49. And then every month after that would be $2.49 per month for however long you want to hold that subscription. But if you get on that now, you can just start at $2.49. You don't have to pay $4.49 at the front. You can just do $2.49 continuously for the duration of your subscription. And I just also want to remind you of, we're throwing in Roger's book, Overcoming Fear, the very one that we showed, his meditation series. And we're also going to be progressively adding just more bonuses to you guys. And yeah, you get a head start, like I showed before, to start prepping you to really kick it into high gear when this program really starts for real. And we wanted to give you something to munch on, so to speak, while being able to lock you in at this particular price, because it's true. We're very likely going to raise the price when we start this program, not this coming Monday, but on Monday the 22nd. So if you want to be locked in, lock yourself in, and you can go to headstart.rogerburnley.com, and you can read up a little bit more about it. You can listen to the testimonials of the people who are in the program right now, because they still have access to it, and you'll be able to meet them, interact with them in the program itself. And so you can pick each other's brain and also support each other on those group calls. And I also did that little calculation there, Roger, when you were talking about it's $25,000 per year to work with you individually. You know, if all they did was buy, half-hour coaching calls with you, once a week, yeah, that's over $15,000 for the half-hour coaching calls. So yeah, that's all I have to share on that, Roger, if you want to add anything else to that.
And this, I always need Stan to do that, because I need to look at things a little more closely. And that's perfect. I want you to say this too. There's nothing that you can't do. And there's nothing I can't figure out that I can't help you figure out. Nothing. And so anything else is just an excuse that you're just not willing to do it. And I can say that now because of what I've lived my entire life. And I know this, and I've worked with thousands or hundreds of people. I've coached hundreds of people over the years. So I know behavior. I know human behavior and what we do. We hold back, we get afraid and all that. I did it. And so I coached this, and I created this to be foolproof, I called it, because I know what I did and why I didn't get ahead, why I couldn't, and I wasn't consistent. I wouldn't stay with it. And no one was making me accountable or talking to me, nothing. I said, I'm not going to have that. And then I knew that all the things that I bought that I left on my own, I couldn't do those. And so I don't want that. I didn't want that to happen. So this program is foolproof. There's no way that you can fail unless you decide, well, I just don't care about myself and I'm going to stop now. That's all. That is the only thing that happens. So, but it was, yeah, it's a joy for me to see what has happened as a result of me being willing to move through this, and what it's done for so many folks. It's just like thrilling. It's beyond even what you saw in that first testimonial video. Great. Yes, that's it. We all just have to do it on our own. But I want to thank you guys. This has been great. And I know that it's going to get you to think about something, and I hope you take action so that you can get on with creating and living the life that you were meant to have, because we all deserve that, especially now.